All right. We are live. Apologies for the delay. We'll get started here in just a second when some people flow in. But yeah, welcome everyone to the first solo stream as I fix my microphone. Apologies for the delay. I was really scrambling last minute, did not do enough prep to really get this going. So the thumbnail is pretty mediocre, but I was trying to pull some market data in the last couple seconds as I got ready. And so yeah, that's why I'm late. But hello everyone. Welcome. Ed, how you doing? I am just posting this to my Instagram story real quick because I was so slow to do this. And then we will jump right into it. But yeah, pretty exciting market recently. Even though some things have dropped off, I think there's still a lot of opportunity out there, and a lot of people aren't really looking where I thought they would be looking, but we'll go over that today. So sorry, one sec. For anyone that watches this back, I really do apologize. You can skip ahead maybe 3 or 4 minutes and it will be like fully operational. But also happy 4th of July to everyone. I'm going to do some stuff with my girlfriend tonight and tomorrow. And yeah. All right, here's the YouTube link. Watch here. Okay. Perfect. All right. Sorry for that. I really botched the first stream already by doing that, but whatever. Okay. So, yeah. Want to say welcome. Thank you to everyone who's going to tune in now or watch back later. I've really enjoyed doing the live stream so far with having people on. And so I've decided to also start doing solo ones because I think I've enjoyed them more than making regular videos. It's more of like, as Ern likes to say, stream of consciousness in his videos. I'm not as good at doing that with pre-recorded videos. So these will be a little bit more my liking. And yeah, your guys' support has been amazing so far. So we'll continue to try to get new guests on, and then hopefully can do 2 streams a week at least. So 1 solo stream and 1 with a guest. And if I can't find a guest, then I'll just do a solo stream as well. So potentially 2 streams solo if I can't find anyone. But as far as what we're going to cover today, I'm going to go over the state of the market, which is, not very unique. I'm sorry, I keep having to fix my microphone. It's like slumping down. Sorry, one sec. This thing is a nightmare, dude. Hopefully that stays. No, I can literally see it slumping. We'll go over the state of the market, my current investing, buying, selling strategy, and then we'll take a deep dive into Sword and Shield and Scarlet Violet products, and then what I think might be next in the market to take a look at. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick. What up, Connor? How you doing, bro? Happy 4th. Let's share screen. Can I do the entire screen? I don't know if I can. Doing pretty good working on some model training stuff for AI. That's cool. What kind of AI models are you working on? I'm so bad at this, dude. I just want to share. Wait. Okay. Now let's see if I can add my screen. I don't know how to share where like I could change between tabs, but let's just try it. Okay. Wait. That's not it. Sorry. Oh, I think I know how to do it. There we go. Okay, share screen. There we go. Okay, so I want to pull this over here. This is the most botched stream ever, dude. I can't figure out what I'm doing. So yeah, we're gonna go over Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet. But briefly, I did want to say that the general state of the market right now feels like some sealed has been cooling off a little bit, including a lot of these Scarlet and Violet sets. But as the title of this video, Paldea Evolved is obviously moonshotting even further. I don't think anyone really expected it to keep going the way it's going, but it is currently at 360 a box, which is crazy. Am I using OBS? No, I'm using StreamYard. My only issue is that like when I had multiple tabs open, it was only asking me to share one tab at a time, so I had to share the whole window. But you know, um, yeah, I think the no-brainer right now for me at least is the specialty set, Scarlet Violet specialty sets. So I want to show you guys quickly. I put together a list of every single set, the booster box or ETB price, regular, and then the set value, and then the ratio of those two. So what I thought was pretty interesting, the average is about 30% box to set value. Again, there's no like rule of thumb for this, so it's not always a one-to-one in terms of just because the singles are so much higher priced, they're almost always going to be higher priced than the box. But in some cases, like we see with Obsidian Flames, it's like very close. And then if we looked at a lot of the Sword and Shield sets, those ratios are over 100%, meaning the singles collectively are more valuable than the boxes. But there are some Paldean Fates, for example. I still think 151 is an absolute buy. I don't know about the ETBs necessarily, but we'll go into that in just a minute. Paldean Fates, I think, is grossly undervalued in terms of the Bubble Muse starting to go back up, which I also think is a buy, and the ETBs have pumped a decent amount. They've gone up like 30, $40, but the actual set value is like second to Prismatic. It's literally more expensive than Paldea Evolved collectively. So the ratio is the estimated value pulled over the price. So all it is taking the booster box price or ETB price and dividing it by the total set value of the singles, which again, I would not use this metric all the time for being like a clear investment vehicle. I do think it helps to show where parts of the market there might be some holes in it. So like an example, again, I think Shrouded Fable is like a really obvious one at this point. Everyone's talked about it for so long, saying, "Oh yeah, it's getting to be a pretty good price compared to other sets," but it just has not moved. It's just now starting to move, $65 in ETB, but the set is sitting at $600. So the actual value of the set and what you can pull inside is extremely it's starting to be skewed to where the sealed is starting to make a lot more sense now, or it has made a lot of sense for a while. I think it's just now starting to move. Prismatic is still crazy. I think my investment strategy right now, as a whole, pretty much any 151 or pretty much any 151, whether it's singles, mostly the high-end singles or sealed, if it's at a discount, and a discount to me is like 15 to 20% on sealed. If it's at a discount, I don't know why this isn't loading. I think it's a buy. But 151 Prismatic, anytime you can get those sorts of discounts, I think it's pretty obvious. They're just continuing to gap up, and there's just not enough product out there for the demand, at least currently. But yeah, and then Paldean Fates. I have stayed away from this set for a while. Not because I didn't like it. It was just like not really my thing. I felt like it was overhyped for a while, but now the Bubble Mew is starting to go back on the move. So if we pull up the Bubble Mew and I filter by near mint, so it kind of bottomed out here at like 290. So it's down from what, 400, 420, bottomed out at 290, and now we're starting to see it like rebound slightly back up, sort of crossing $300. Another big indicator for the Bubble Mew is if I pull up alts, you will see that I believe it's over $1,000 again in a 10, which is really crazy. My computer is not loading because I have so many tabs open, which is crazy. Can get prismatic for 85. Been ordering 3 cases every. Yeah, that's a steal. My most recent pickup for prismatic was, I think, 1,050 a case, which is like 105 in ETB. So anything around like 1,000, I've been buying a couple just because I think it's an obvious play there. The value is so skewed. The top chases are still so expensive that it doesn't really matter how much supply gets put out there. So yeah, look at this. Most recent sale is 1,200. Buy it now for the Mew. You have a 1092, 1,100, or 1,000, 975. And these are starting to go back into June, but it is consistently like starting to increase now again, over 1,000. And yet, when I show you that chart, the ETB, especially relative to the other. So, like, okay, let me highlight these because I think Paldean Fates and Shrouded Fable are the most obvious ones. Actually, let me just do the percentage. Again, I would not use this ratio for like everything. It's such a basic ratio you could do, but I think it does inform a little bit. So let's see. Yeah, so Paldean Fates, 14%, 15% of the sealed value in the total set value. And then Shrouded is about 10%, Prismatics 2%, obviously, because the Umbreon and all the evolutions are so damn expensive. And then 151 is pretty consistent with like the rest of the era, so it's not too crazy. But I do think because 151 is going to be it's going to be rotating out next year. I do think that 151 is like a better. Well, I won't say it's a better set, but I just think that it will do really well long term. So I like 151. And then the other thing, obviously, is if we go to Poke Beach. The other thing that I'm sort of my current investing strategy, or what I'm trying to look out for, is definitely the upcoming mega sets. So I'm putting back a little bit of cash on the side for the Mega Evolution sets. So my computer, I should never have this many tabs open. I think I have like 40 tabs open, but I wanted to go over every single set and just have them preloaded. I'm not going to go over it right now, but obviously you know that the mega sets are coming up. So that is pretty crazy. Is there any way? Oh, it's really cool. There's other metrics you can use, like, you could look at how the singles. Like another one that I like to do is like the top 5 and top 10 singles and how they've been performing. So like if I took Scarlet Violet base, I think would be a good example versus like Paldea. So if we went to like single cards, so you can see like SV base has like dropped a lot. So this one, like in contrast to like a lot of the other sets, I mean, a lot of the singles in SV era have dropped, but base especially has dropped a lot because you had things like the Drowsy and the Miriam that went up so much that when they corrected, if you look at like the price charts, obviously they're down kind of across the board. But if we were to look at, like, this is what I like to do too for like cards that I'm really attracted to already in terms of waiting for a nice buy price. You can see that like Gardevoir obviously is like up over the year, but then it's continuously gone down. And so sometimes I like to take the culmination of the top singles, top 5 or top 10 singles from these sets, and look at how they've been doing the last couple months. Because what you'll see is that if you took an average of like, you take the 6 month, the 3 month, and the 1 month data, let's say, you will get, like, I think I have an example of this in my Google Docs. Hold on. I didn't finish this out. I was going to make a video about it, but I never did. Let me grab it real quick. Yeah, because I was literally going to make a video on this, but I never did because it ended up being a 45-minute video, and I was like, no one wants to watch that. But what I was going to talk about essentially is that these 6 sets, I believe, the G block, so SV Base, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, 151, Paradox Rift, Paldean Fates, they're all a part of the G block. So on the bottom of the cards, again, I should have left this open, but sorry, I'm like jumping around a lot. It's just like thought process here. So on the bottom of like every Scarlet and Violet era card, or any card, even from Sword and Shield, I believe you could do this. If you go to the bottom here, you'll see like this little letter G. That means it's part of the G block. These are going to be the sets that go out of standard rotation next year. So what that means is that people won't be able to play with these cards anymore. And so what I was going to do was talk about how of these 6 sets, where some buying opportunities could be, or just like the trajectory that they were on heading into the next year, that opportunity might open up as they like fully go out of rotation. So what I was starting to do was this, but I didn't finish it. So I was doing like the 1-year price difference compared to the current price. And I was just taking the TCG charts. So I just took the 1-year chart, 6-month chart, 3-month chart, 1-month chart. And then you could kind of get an eyeball for like how sets were doing overall. And I was going to plot it somehow too. I couldn't figure out how to plot it properly. And then I was also going to compare it to their PSA 10 prices, because obviously I think one of the biggest plays is still grading. Right now, PSA has a backlog, but I think there still is a lot of grading opportunities out there. If you can find certain cards, like the Drowsy is still ridiculously, again, this is from a week and a half ago, but the Drowsy, at least a week and a half ago, it's a $25 card now, but you could still sell it for like $300. Obviously, it's not easy to grade, but what I was trying to show was that some of these sets, again, I didn't finish it, but the 1 month, for example, like I don't know how to explain this other than, pretty much all the SVR sets in the last year are going to be up a certain percentage, but they all took this nasty nosedive. But you'll start to see that some sets, like their average overall, will start to be on the climb again, especially with Sword and Shield too. I was going to do it for SV and Sword and Shield to see if it could be a helpful tool. It's just like super labor intensive to grab all those numbers, but you'd watch. Okay, I'll think about it in the future, but for now, it was taking too long to get through with it. But I wanted to go over, so what I'm buying, or what I'm actively looking for as far as investments go, is definitely, I think the no-brainer sets right now are the specialty sets, like I said. As far as I like going on sealed mostly, so ETBs probably for any of these specialty sets, if you can find them 15 to 20% off, I think that's a screaming buy. Shrouded Fable, I think even at the current price of like 60 is still like a good price. But what else? And then for Paldean Fates specifically, I think the Bubble Mew is actually becoming a good buy, which is hard to say because this card literally was $80 just over a year ago. But even at 300 now, it seems like it's gonna go on a run again. I don't know how high it'll go. I think that's probably I think the Bubble Mew is probably the best card in all of Scarlet and Violet era so far. That might be a subjective take. I don't think the Magikarp is the best card in the era as far as desirability goes. I think the Bubble Mew is more desirable than the Magikarp. I just think the Magikarp has such an insanely low pop and has historically been the most expensive card in Paldea that it probably is going to continue to do that. And then, yeah, the last other thing, like I said, saving up some cash for the mega sets that are coming this fall, because I have a feeling that very similar to the start of Scarlet and Violet and a lot of the other eras, and this is what a lot of other YouTubers have been saying, people get pretty bearish at the start of different eras. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about that, let me know. That's kind of my strategy as of now. But I haven't made any major moves. Like Ed was saying, I just recently bought 2 cases of prismatic ETBs as well. Any way to find rough production numbers for these sets? I don't think there's. I mean, the best way to find it. Don't take my word for this, but the best metric I would use is like content creators who have stores or people that you know that have stores and seeing their allocation numbers from set to set, and if it's continually declining, and then how many reprints come after that is kind of where I would gauge it. Because like for me too, like an example too, that another set that I think is probably starting to become a pretty good buy, and I know Retro has been making moves on this one, is Surging. Again, if you kind of look at the set value, it's what, the third most expensive after Paldean Fates. So there's, or I guess, so I guess I have to include Destined Rivals. So that was my mistake. So Paldean Fates is the third most expensive after Destined, which just came out. So I think it'll still come down a bit. But after Prismatic, Destined, Paldean Fates, then you have Surging. Surging is more expensive than Paldea Evolved set-wise, but I mean, this set's been reprinted like 3 or 4 times with booster box reprints. And so it's kind of interesting that even when it's been reprinted 3 times, it's still performing really well. I do think it's still a better buy than sets like Journey, Enhanced Box, or Twilight. I wouldn't be buying Twilight at 280, but we'll talk about that. What's up, Andres? All right, thank you. Got the option to buy a case of Prismatic ETB for 1050. Should I go for it? I think it depends what your goals are. Like if you can sit on it for a while, I think you'll be very happy in a couple years. But if you're like looking for a quick flip, I don't think it's gonna be going up anytime soon. Just because it's still so new that they're gonna continue to reprint it because it's the most in demand set from SV era. But yeah. And as far as what I'm selling right now, because I wanted to go over that too, I haven't like listed anything yet. So I don't want to speak. I don't want to say I'm going to sell things without like actually doing them. But what I'm going to be bringing to the show, the upcoming show, is going to be Twilight. I know it's hitting all-time highs as well, just like Paldea Evolved did. But I don't like the set at 280. I didn't mind it at 220 because that was kind of where everything else was. I didn't even mind it at 240 as far as like me holding it. But at 280, when it's still in a rotation and has pretty high, much higher reprint probability, I think, than SV01 through 5 even, because Temporal got a decent reprint, but has still remained pretty strong. I think Twilight is bound to get another reprint. I just don't see how this thing holds at 280. Paldea, I'm not as concerned about. Paldea at 360, it's insane that it's reached that price, but I don't think they're going to go that far back to reprint like a lot of other, again, content creators have said. But I mean, recent sales at 285, like this is a sell to me. And it's not to say I don't believe in it long term. I have a couple cases, but I do have a few extra loose boxes that I might just trickle out because it's jumped up like $60 in what, 3 months? Yeah. Which to me, like, yes, I'd be willing to sit on it for a couple more years still, but At least for loose ones. I have extra loose ones that I think I'm gonna sell off. Risky? Yeah. I mean, it's definitely risky to buy. I would not be buying Twilight at 280. I'm sure Rudy will make a video soon saying that it's still a good buy, but that's what happens when you have millions of dollars, I guess. But as of now, as far as what I'm selling, that's like the only thing that I really have on my for sure sell list. But we'll see. I mean, things might change. I might take a couple other loose boxes and just keep the cases, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them. As far as what I'm not buying or what I'm like avoiding, I sort of just would categorize it as quote unquote risky inventory. And to me, that's really like I don't know if I can show on here. To me, it's really collection boxes, and that might be like a pretty biased take. And even some of these 3-pack blisters, I'm just not a huge fan of the bulky SV era collection boxes. I think the only exception to that I would say is Blooming Waters. I don't know why I can't find any of these. Let me see. I'm just using Journey Together as an example. I know there's like Destined ones as well, but like shit like this, like I would not be buying these as an investment. If you're looking to flip them and you can get them at MSRP or whatever, that's fine. But I think these things have everything stacked against them. Eventually, they do become desirable because YouTubers and streamers and stuff like these products just end up becoming more scarce. I will say that a lot of collection boxes don't seem to get vast number of reprints, except for ones like Blooming and stuff like that. But they don't. These ones, they seem to just trickle out seasonal collection boxes for certain sets. My problem with them is they don't usually have too many packs except for Blooming. They're all clunky and take up so much space in your garage. Again, even Blooming Waters takes up so much space in your garage or your storage or your room or wherever you keep them. And I just don't think like you get enough bang for your buck. I would rather have booster bundles or ETBs or booster boxes or even loose packs. I'm not a huge fan of the loose collection boxes besides Blooming Waters at this point. Yeah, I really like them for the size. I was checking the other day. You can fit like 4 bundles for the same size you would like a single ETB, I'm pretty sure. They're really clutch to store. But the collection boxes are absolute nightmare, so I'm not a huge fan of them. Also, when you bring them to shows, like they take up so much of your shelf space if you're trying to sell them on the shelves behind you. And then the other thing I would be avoiding, honestly, this is me personally, again, not financial advice. Do your own research. I didn't want to go to surging, sorry. Journey Together Onward, I would not be buying booster boxes specifically right now at current prices. I do think probably so there I will back up and just say I know people have talked about the possibility of Journey Together not getting reprints for enhanced booster boxes. I think they are getting enhanced. I could be wrong there. My issue is again that these are going to be in rotation for the next 2 years, and Pokemon's going to be focusing mostly on these newer sets: Surging, Prismatic, Journey, Destined. The one thing I will say about Surging, again, like I mentioned earlier, I think it's already gotten 3 or 4 reprints, at least 2 booster box reprints, and this just like seems like a much stronger set than Journey. That's just my opinion. But and I wouldn't be buying Destined either, even though I love the set. It looks fantastic. I just think that the possibility. Here's the thing: it's to me now, and this is what a lot of investors, quote unquote, say in traditional finance, and also Rudy mentions this, but it's all about like managing risk. And if I'm talking about just purely risk, take my emotional stance on these sets out of it. I think that Journey, Destined, even Stellar, I wouldn't probably be buying at current prices. Maybe it doesn't get reprinted. I just don't like it at 220, the same as like Temporal, for example. And I'll go into Temporal in a bit because I want to shill Temporal because I like it so much. But Twilight, I wouldn't be buying. They're just too new, and from a risk standpoint, I would not be comfortable personally buying these at 230 or buying Twilight at 280 or buying more Destined at least at 250, thinking that in the next few years they won't be reprinting those more, or that I couldn't get them at a lower or a better entry point. And could I miss out on stuff? Sure, that's okay. Um, it's better to miss out on something and it go back up, in my opinion, than to, well, I'll caveat that, but in some cases, it's better to miss out on something and watch it start to go back up and buy in when it's going back up than it is, I think, to buy when the market is in sort of that euphoric stage. The stock market's at all-time highs. Pokemon, even though it's had slight pullbacks, most of these sets are still at or near their all-time highs. So that's just my personal take. I wouldn't be buying those sets. Love Temporal. Yeah, man, it's a banger set. I definitely want to go into it a little bit more before I end the stream, because something that it has taught me is to never. Let's go into it now, actually. Let's just do it now. So as far as what I'm buying, I will buy. I have enough Temporal to be comfortable in my position, but I will buy more Temporal again if I can find it at like a 20% discount. It's still a buy to me. It's sitting at 218 right now, so not the cheapest, but when you look at the set, I've said this before on my story, I think Temporal has the best set identity of any of the Scarlet Violet sets besides 151 and Prismatic, probably. But at least for mainline sets, I think it has the best set identity, which just means like you have the 3 legendary dogs, you have Iron Crown, Iron Leaves, Iron Boulder from Black and White era, you have Ghastly and Gengar, and it sort of still maintains that ancient future schematic or thematic identity. But the other thing too, and this is just a biased, not a biased take, but like something I have been taught from Fusion Strike. You see it with Phantom Forces, a lot of these psychic sets, but especially sets that have Gengar in them. I will not fade Gengar under any circumstances, and it has Ghastly too. Like, to me, this is going to be a set that does super well long term, regardless of how. For a few reasons. One, I think the set identity is great. 2, it has Gengar and Ghastly. I think people will chase those cards until the end of time. 3, and a lot of, again, I think a lot of other YouTubers have commented on this too. It seems like Temporal, there's just less of it out there, it feels like. I could be wrong on that, but it feels like compared to other sets, when you see people selling off booster boxes, they do not seem to have as much Temporal as other sets. I know Nostalgianomics has commented on that before. I know Anon TCG has commented on that before. And so to me, that makes it all the more attractive. And the irony of it too is that I stocked up on more Temporal originally just because I thought the set was so good. Like, it was the first. This is the set that made me invest in Scarlet Violet era booster boxes. At the time, I think they were like 105 or 110. I got in like just before this, actually, so you can't even see it on the 1-year chart. But most of my cases in boxes were around 600, 650 a case, or 105 to 120-ish a box. But this is the set where I was looking at it and I was like, bro, these cards are gorgeous. It has Gengar. It has one of the best illustration rares, in my opinion, of the entire era. And I just don't see how this set can be as low as it was at the time, for a long period of time. And it was a set that I was willing to wait on, like, and by wait on, I mean like sit on for a long period of time. I was like, I would sell off a lot of these other sets before I would sell off this one. So yeah, that's my bullish thesis on Temporal. Could I be wrong? Yes, but I just have learned not to fade any Gengar chase artwork. Granted, it is a trainer, so technically there's a downside there, but the Ghastly IR I think makes up for that. What's up, Andy? How you doing, bro? The art is one of the best, and the hits are hard to pull. Yeah, I think that's another good point. I think Temporal. See if I can pull it up. Pull rates. I think Temporal was the first set where they actually increased the pull rates. TCG player. Because the first couple, that's the downside of like SVO1, SVO2, Obsidian. They all have easier pull rates. But this was the set where you started to see SIRs being like 1 out of almost 90 packs and close to, 850 to 1,000 ish for a specific SIR. Now, the benefit of like Paldea is the chase cards in IR, and I think there's like 30 IRs or 25 IRs or something. So even though it's easier to pull, you get guaranteed 3 IRs per box. Pulling the Magikarp itself is actually still really tough because there's so many IRs. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of Temporal. Again, not telling you to buy it, not trying to shill you extra than I already have, but it is one of those sets, in my opinion, that I think will age really well. But yeah. And then let's see what else. Oh, so this is a hot take on another thing that I'm buying and flipping kind of, is actually rainbows. The cards that everyone hated. So my thesis here really is that I'm trying to do like an inverse investing play. I mean, I don't even know if this is investing at this point. This is more so like there's flip potential here. But I mean, I even am picking up like some of the Sword and Shield VMAXs, but these are all like Sun and Moon rainbows. So my thesis there is kind of like the same thing that happened with XY era full arts. I think, yeah, I'm not trying to show you specific cards. It's just the rainbow GXs from Sun and Moon. So camera quality aside, sorry you can't see the specific cards. There wasn't a specific card that I was trying to show. I was just trying to show this is my hot take on some cards that I think will do well. I'm sort of like short to medium term on them. I'm thinking like next 1 to 2 years that they could possibly, I don't know, 1.5x to double probably on some of them. I know some of them have already gone up, like the Lugia GX and the Rayquaza GX and a couple others. What do you think of SV era full arts in PSA 10? Just regular full arts, I think that'll be tough to make an investment thesis on. I could see like flipping maybe, but you're talking like not IRs, but not these either. Are there like which full arts are you're talking about? Like these, like the ultra rares? I wouldn't be making investment plays on them. Maybe some of the gold cards. I'm not a fan of golds. They haven't done well, and that could be popular Pokemon like Zard or Gengars. Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking like the temporal full art Gengar, maybe, or some of the Charizards, I'm sure there could be a play there, but I just think there's probably still better plays out there in comparison. I could be wrong, but that's just the data historically, I feel like, has shown the SV full arts right now are not the same as XY and Sun and Moon era even full arts, to where those were kind of like the main. Well, I guess Sun and Moon it was the rainbows, even though those weren't really the chase cards. But XY era, the full arts were like the main chase. But now since you have the SIRs, the IRs, I think the IRs probably are more comparable to like full arts from back then, especially the ones that are hard to grade. But yeah, I think that's kind of Oh yeah, the other one I want to quickly talk about is, obviously I know a lot of people have seen this. I'm gonna get rid of all these pages. Is the new, I posted them on my story today, so some people swiped up on it, but the new Pokemon Center special boxes. So, well, actually, let me look on eBay too, just to show you guys. I know I showed some people, but let's see. Pokemon Center special box. I was looking at the Hiroshima one earlier, which is the Gyarados one. That one's my favorite. But these are starting to be like in the low to mid 200s. Like people were buying these at like 500. I was like, hell no. Huh, that is not working properly. Well, let's just look at the lowest list because you can find them there. Oh, there's one down there. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, you could find one you could buy now for this Tohoku one, 196. I think the Gyarados is like 200 to 250 ish, and then the Latias one is also like 200. My goal for this one, honestly, if I am gonna buy, is sort of in the. I'm hoping I can get one in like the low to mid 100s. That might be too optimistic, but that's kind of my plan. If I could get the Gyarados one at like 150, I wouldn't mind that. But again, that's those items, because I think they're print to demand at this point. One of my main things with that one is, again, I would rather be wrong on where it bottoms and then have to buy it. You know, if I want to buy it at 150 and it doesn't reach 150, but it reaches 175 and then starts moving up and it hits 180, 190, I'd rather buy it at that price than to buy it right now at 250 or 200 when they're still in pre-order right now. They haven't even been like finalized, I don't think. At least maybe once people have them in hand, that's kind of my strategy, is see where the price movement goes and then go from there. But yeah, that's kind of my plan. So, all right. So we kind of looked at Esfiera a little bit. I want to look at Sword and Shield now, at least the sealed. I do think at some point I will have to look at the singles, but for now I just want to look at the sealed. Let's see. What's up, Jason? Listening while packing orders. 200 doesn't feel bad, but I'm also, yeah. So they're really good looking cards. Sad there's no full arts and there's no packs in them either. So really the value is the you get the sleeves and the promo and the just the box art itself, which people collect. But yeah, they're pretty similar to those other ones, like the Yokohama one. I know you're probably familiar with all those. You know, the Yokohama one, I think a lot of those came with 2 promos, not 1, and they were hollow in most cases. But those are kind of the best comparable I could find. And if they're already at 200 to 250 now, I don't see how they stay there once they actually get put in people's hands. I could be wrong, but that's how I'm feeling. So yeah, hopefully like 150-ish, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Also, there's always a possibility of made to order situation like with the rocket cases. So yeah, what I've heard is that they are made to order, or like at least maybe there's a pre-order window and you can order as much as you want. I don't want to speak as if I know because I haven't been pre-ordering any of them, because I think you have to be in Japan. But yeah, I think 150 is like a fair price target. Okay, so we did SV era. So just to sum it up, the average booster box right now, or ETB, is 215. I should have probably split out booster boxes and ETBs, because I'm sure the ETBs are bringing this down. So it's probably closer to like 225 or something. Average set value 1132. And the ratio of the two, the average is about 30%. Again, I think what that tells me, and it's not, especially with specialty sets, it's not a 1-to-1. So maybe, maybe it can go a bit lower because there's not, the booster boxes have like a higher premium usually than the ETBs in most cases. And so it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. I just wanted to draw the point that like when you have prismatic with this much of a gap, or even shrouded at this point, I think it does point to where some potential opportunities could be had. Again, not saying they're screaming buys all the time. I do think anything prismatic or 151 at a discount is a screaming buy, no matter what. That's just how I feel personally. Not financial advice, and do your own research. Okay. Sword and Shield. So, Sword and Shield is a little bit different. Obviously, the early half of Sword and Shield was not reprinted as much as the latter half, and especially, Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, some of those ones that got hit pretty hard. Shining Fates, Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike. But I do think there's still some interesting data as far as these ratios go. And also, like, the one that stands out to me the most and that I put in the thumbnail is Chilling Reign. Like, this is a no-brainer. I know, again, a non-TCG has talked about this before, so shout out to him. He makes some pretty good videos. This is kind of crazy to me. So Chilling compared to Fusion, let's just look at this for a second. So Chilling is a little bit less or a little bit more than half the box price of Fusion, 56% of the box price, so a little more than half. But the actual set value, actually, let me do this. So that's the ratio of Chilling Fusion box. Ratio Chilling Fusion set. But then, obviously, if you can look at the numbers, the set value is 9% more than Fusion. Or, I mean, the percentage doesn't really matter. The crazy thing is that it's half the price of the box of Fusion's set. Sorry, I'm messing up my words. Chilling's box price, $412, is almost half of Fusion's $750, $737, but its set value is still so much more. And I just think Chilling is probably a bit undervalued from that standpoint. Again, make your own decisions, not financial advice. I just thought that was an interesting data point. I really like Chilling, even at its current price. But yeah, obviously, like Sword and Shield base, Rebel Clash, and even Darkness to some extent, these are really expensive because I know Darkness got some reprints, but these are not going to be anywhere similar to their set value. The sets are just not that popular from back then, but those booster boxes are crazy just because there's none out there. I mean, 11 listings? 3 of them aren't even real boxes. The cheapest listing on TCG Player with someone 94% feedback is $575. The most recent sale is $550 and in the 500. So I'm probably being a little bit conservative, even saying that it's $450 right here. It's probably closer to $500. And Rebel Clash is kind of the same thing. $399. Yeah, I mean, these are $400 now. And then Darkness, kind of a mixed bag, but I mean, there's just not many listings of any of these sets. 7 listings, and it just gaps up so much after you get out of 500. So, would I be buying them? Probably not. I just am not as big of a believer in those, but yeah. Any way to trade on this without having to buy and take shipment of the boxes? Not exactly sure what you mean. Could you clarify that? Any way to trade on this without having to buy and take shipment of the boxes? Could you clarify that, Connor? And then I'll try to answer it as best I can. Champion's Path. Let's see. Is it going on a run? A little bit? Yeah, I mean, a little bit. But this thing has been 120 for like years, I feel like, between 90 and 120. And the Charizards, the pops on the Charizards are so high, but these Charizards will always do well, I think, regardless of how many there are. The Charizard V sitting at like 220 and the VMAX at 165. Everyone loves Charizard. Even the kids love Charizard. So, like how stock traders trade orange futures without physically having to trade. Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't think that exists with Pokemon. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if it would ever get to that point. Yeah, I see what you're saying though. You're talking about like how there's like gold futures and oil futures and stuff. I think they would have to be like, what's it called? And I'm not an expert in traditional finance. I've just been getting into it, but I think whoever it is, the SEC or whatever, they might have to. I don't know how those actually get on like the stock market and stuff to be able to trade, but yeah, you would need like institutions to be approving that, I think. An interesting one actually is Vivid Voltage has been starting to go on a run a little bit. So it's up about 6%, close to 220 now. And let's see, Shining Fates at 95 on recent sales. I'm not the biggest fan of Shining Fates, but it seems to be starting to do well, which is really kind of crazy. 100% in the last year, 44% in the last 6 months, 10% in the last 3 months, and about the bulk of that move is in the last month. So, Shining Fates, who would have guessed? I do think Battle Styles is still grossly undervalued. This is a crazy take. I've gotten hate on this before when I've made videos about like that Tyranitar being a good buy. I mean, it's pretty much back at a low point. That's probably pretty attractive to buy at if you can get it slightly under this. But it's dropped from like what 240, 230 down to 185. But I mean, here's where I kind of gauge it. Like I know people say, "Oh, there's a bajillion of these boxes out there. This set was so overprinted." But when I start to look at like, it's the first. It's not even the fact that it's the first alt art set, but like the alt art sets are mainly what people look at in Sword and Shield era. So Battle Styles through Crown Zenith pretty much is kind of the bulk of Sword and Shield era where people are thinking about making investments. I feel like the earlier Sword and Shield stuff is really just someone who wants the sealed box for their collection, or they could be making an investment play, but you just have to shell out more capital. But Battle Styles, I mean, it's cheaper than every single Scarlet Violet era box. 202 to let's say 200, even if it's $210, it's cheaper than every Scarlet Violet era box except for SV base. 199 for SV base. So granted, I don't think SV base is getting a reprint anytime soon, so there could be a case to be made about buying SV base over Battle Styles. I would be okay with that argument. I guess my point was for alt art sets, I think Battle Styles probably should be closer to like 250 or something, realistically. It kind of meets a lot of the same metrics that the rest of Sword and Shield does regarding these ratios and stuff, but like it I don't know. I could be crazy saying that. I know a lot of people have hated on the video I made in the past about talking about like cards from Battle Styles being potential investment, but I do think the booster box should not be $200. I think that's too cheap. And I know we talked about this a couple minutes ago, but I think Chilling is probably the biggest sleeper in Sword and Shield as of right now, just because the singles, the set value is so strong. I mean, look how many cards it has over like 40 to 50 bucks. And then the Blaziken's at $360. It has a lot more depth. Obviously, like when we were comparing it to Fusion Strike obviously has the Gengar, which I think is a much, much, much better card than the Blaziken, but it still has Espeon, Mew, both Mews, and Celebi, and it's still a cheaper set overall than Chilling. Now that could mean that then that means Fusion singles should be more expensive, but to me, I think the booster box probably should be like this should be a $500 Yeah, probably a $500+ dollar box, because even when we look at like Lost Origin's $500 right now, and it has $1,100 worth of singles. And Chilling, it has $1,600 worth of singles in this $400 box. Again, I want to reiterate, just because the set value is X amount more than the sealed item, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's like an obvious buying opportunity there. But to me, I feel like for a while, Fusion Strike and Chilling Reign were seen as neck and neck for the longest time, and now Fusion Strike has just absolutely gapped up. And I don't think Lost Origin is a better set than Chilling. That's me personally. I know a lot of people are going to say the Giratina has just way more weight to it than all the cards offered in Chilling, but I do think Chilling is a better set overall. Evolving 1900. This set's going to be a $5,000 box in like 3 years, probably. The same as Team Up. Again, I know I made a post on that, but I mean, this thing's gone from $600 to 300% or 200% gain increase in the last year. People were saying it topped out at like 11 or 1200, and then it just, it did flatline here for what, 4 months? For 4 months, you could get this between 12 to 1400 consistently, and then it just went on an absolute run. So, gonna grab my water real quick because my throat is killing me. So hold on one sec. Okay. Yeah. The problem is it's so expensive now that most people can't afford to even like make a play on this. And it's tough. Like, if you can only get one box, do I see it as a $5,000 box in a couple years? Yes. Could you make $3,000 off of $2,000 in a shorter time span than 3 years? I think the answer to that is also yes. You could do that through flipping and other things, but if you have Evolving, I would personally not be selling it. I would just be sitting on it as long as possible. Moonbrion's back up to 1450, Rayquaza 700, Leafeon 400. The rest of these are all going to be like 300-ish, 250, 300. The set is just too stacked to not do well, and it will continue to probably be. I think this is like the most iconic set since probably Evolutions. Is that fair to say? Or maybe Team Up, since Team Up. But Team Up wasn't iconic at first. Like, I wasn't even around back then, but I know when I got back in, like, it was not. It was on the rise, but it was not. It wasn't as culturally impactful, I don't think. Granted, it is like a $7,000 box now, but Celebrations. So Celebrations has gone on a run recently. I put that in the title here to show you guys, for anyone that hasn't been paying attention, which I feel like everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but where is this fucking thing? The Greninja Gold Star. This thing has hit like $1,000 a box, or $1,000 a box. It was like $900 for a PSA 10. And you can see right here, well, let me do the 1 month. This card you could get under $10, and then it just absolutely get $23, $30 it peaked at a couple days ago. And then now it's gotten dumped back down to $20. But I mean, I'm not signed in. The amount of people buying this card and absolutely pump and dumping this is crazy to me. I would not be buying Greninja Gold Stars. I would not be buying PSA 10 Greninja Gold Stars. I don't care where the price is going to go. This same exact thing happened like several months ago. I literally made a video about it. Again, I'm still not very good at making videos, but at the time it pumped to like $10 or $15, I want to say, and then the PSA 10s jumped to like 300 or 400 And the same thing has happened not even a couple months later, and now people are going crazy again. Seems like market manipulation. Yeah, to me, that's when it gaps up that quickly. To me, that's I whether it's market manipulation or not doesn't really matter to me personally. To me personally, when I see it gap up that aggressively in a short amount of time, my problem is that it is hard to get behind as far as like an investment goes or like making a play. If you already have the cards, then you can flip out of them or whatever, or that sort of thing. But wanting to buy it after it goes up 200% or 100% increase is really hard for me to get behind. I think even some of the other celebrations cards have started to do it too. Obviously, the Reshiram Zekrom have gone up a lot because of black and white. But I think, yeah, I mean, look at this. Look at this. Another clear example. Umbreon Gold Star. So, it's the 3rd of June right now, or July. So the 20 up till about the 26th, so less than a week ago. This was a $37 card. It is now went 51, 67, 68, 70. So it is now still a $74 card, and people are paying that. Even if they're paying 65, people are paying 55 for a lightly played copy or 35 for heavily played copy. People were just buying lightly or near mint for that same price not even a week ago. So this sort of movement where you have an absolute straight up wall, 88% in the last month, and it's really 88% in the last week. I would be very cautious about buying in when things go up that fast, that much, that fast. There are better plays out there. And if you didn't have it at this price, you definitely probably don't want it at this price. When it looks more like gradual, I don't know a good example. I don't even think this is a good example because this pumps, I think, from black and white set too. So this one's tough to look at, but there's other examples where you could just see a more steady incline of the card, and that I think is more healthy than that straight up and down. It's too risky. I think it's manipulated a bit because of the 30th anniversary. I think Rayquaza cards are next. Yeah, that was a retro's take too, is that Rayquazas were going to start popping off. And I mean, it's not a bad take. He's been right on a couple of them. And you have that Storm Emerald set now that got announced. So the likelihood of Rayquaza doing well in the next few months is pretty high, I think. So yeah, that's a good point. All right, we're winding down here. I don't think I'm going to go too much longer because I'm going to go do firework stuff. This was kind of a scuffed first stream, but it'll get better over time. It's all right. Brilliant Stars sitting at $397 market price. I like Brilliant Stars still. Let's see again the ratio. So Brilliant is 38%. My issue here is that it's the same as Astral. I know Astral's actually has pretty good set value, so it's not too much of an issue there. But just for the longest time, Astral was maybe this is just saying that Astral was undervalued, like too cheaply priced. But I just think Brilliant is a better set overall, just because that trainer gallery is so strong. So if we pull up the trainer gallery, pull up Astral Radiance too. Astral Radiance does have a strong trainer gallery. I will say, let's not underplay. Astral has the Starmie V and the Garchomp, which are monster cards. But this is Brilliant Stars. So Brilliant Stars has all 4 Evolution regular full arts. It has the Zekrom full art, which has recently, in the last year, gone up 500% from $2 to $10 because of the black and white set. It has a Mimikyu V and a Mimikyu V Max. I think the Mimikyu V is still probably too cheaply priced. That's just my take. This card got up to $60 a couple months ago, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, $62. But again, on the year, it's still, it was a $15 card a year ago, so it's still up double pretty much. But then it has these big 4 cards, which are Umbreon VMAX, Sylveon VMAX, Umbreon V, and Sylveon V trainer galleries. So I think it has the best trainer gallery. So I do think it has a slight edge to Astral Radiance. I also think the Charizard from Brilliant is a better card than the Machamp, which is the top alt art from Astral. I do think the Palkia and I do think like right now the Palkia is sitting at 60. I don't mind, but the Dialga should not be 45. It should be like neck and neck with the Palkia, in my opinion. That's just like a subjective take, I think, but I feel like historically Dialga has always been more popular than Palkia, even though I like Palkia more. But Astral's trainer gallery is not bad. It's just not as strong. Like the Starmie is still $80, which is good. The Garchomp's obviously a great card that's gone up a lot ever since the trainer Pokemon, and in Destined Rivals we got Cynthia and Garchomp, which has done really well. But even now, I mean, came down from $80 down to 60. But a year ago, it was a $25 card, so more than doubled. The Zacian's a good looking card too. So it has good cards. I just think that Brilliant is a stronger set, and therefore I don't think they should be priced the exact same. Now, does that mean I think Brilliant should be a $500, $600 box? I don't know if I think that, but I do think that, it should at least be like 40, $50 more than Astral probably at this point. Let's see. So we went through Brilliant, Astral, Pokemon Go. I don't really have much to say about this. Shout out to Ern for being an absolute bull on the Mewtwo V altar. I mean, this is still undervalued, guys. You can't have the Rainbow Mewtwo V Star be more expensive than the Mewtwo V. There's just no way. Yeah, no shot. This card has gone up a lot though. Last year, I know that. You could get it for like $20. Pretty sure. Let's see. Yeah, under $20. That is so crazy. So the bull market hit like right here. 20, 25, 30, and then recently, oh my god, it actually went to 55. That's crazy. But yeah, not much to say about Pokemon Go. Same with Lost Origin. Like the box is doing well. You could get this for $200 a year ago. That's so insane to me. $500 now. Like I said, I think chilling is a better opportunity. It peaked at what, 530? It's saying 540. So it's sitting around 500 now, but obviously it has the Giratina, which is one of the best cards in Sword and Shield. I don't understand how this is still cheaper than the Rayquaza VMAX. I think the VMAXs are harder to pull, but I think this artwork was better. It's me personally. It does have the Aerodactyl too, which is a good card, but there's not much else going for it. The trainer gallery is decent. Let's pull that up real quick. I need to fix my camera setup next time so that I'm not like leaning around as much. Oh yeah, it does have a good trainer gallery. So you have both Pikachus doing pretty well. The Gengar, I think it is down like $5. Go to near mint. How is it still? Oh. Huh. Well, it peaked at 20, I thought. Yeah, it did back in February. But it's still up so much. This was a $3 card a year ago. You could have literally bought 100 of these at $3, and you would be up what? A few grand? No, not a few grand. A few hundred. 300% gain. You'd be up like 400, $500. That's crazy. But yeah, Lost Origin has a good trainer gallery too. Snorlax I really like. Gengar, Pikachu, Charizard, obviously. Pikachu V. So pretty good. Silver Tempest. I don't know how I feel about Silver. I've been saying I think it's undervalued. I'm not really sure at 350. But I think the Lugia is undervalued. And it does have a Rayquaza in the trainer gallery, which is good. But it doesn't have much set depth, similar to a lot of the other sets. It drops off so fast. It goes from $250 card all the way down to $25 cards. But I do think that Lugia V is one of the best cards in the era, and will probably continue to do pretty well. But I think it peaked at like 300, didn't it? Let's see. God, I hate how TCG player defaults to like not being near mint. Yeah, it peaked over 302. Now it's down to 250. But a year ago, you could get it for 200. So it's still up 30% on the year. But in the last month or two. So again, my strategy with some of these high-end singles and any Sword and Shield booster boxes, if you can get a little bit of a 10-15% discount, it's probably a pretty good buy. But I think the singles are starting to level out to where they're going to probably do pretty well. Long term, it doesn't, at this point, like, to me, population is such a useless metric, because if the demand is still there, like, everyone is always buying these alt arts. They're buying them more than vintage. And so to me, it doesn't matter if it's pop 5,000, pop 10,000. If I can grade the card from a $300 raw card, if I can grade it and it's a $600-$700 card, it's a 200% return on investment, or what? I guess a 100% increase. But did you buy Silver Tempest on Pokemon Center before they sold out? No. So I had it literally in my cart. The case was in my cart, and I never bought it because I was like, I don't know. 144 seems expensive, and of course, it literally just ran to 200 like right after, pretty much. Well, it didn't go right after, but pretty in the coming months it did. Silver Tempest Trainer Gallery is kind of meh. You have Blaziken. I don't really like these Blazikens, to be honest. I think the Rayquaza is great, but it's just kind of meh to me. Crown Zenith. So let's look back at the chart real quick. So Astral was a 43%, Pokemon Go 30% ratio, Lost Origin. So these ones are all kind of similar. Crown Zenith is probably still a little underpriced as far as the ETB to set value goes. It also has the best pull rates from what people have shown on streams. And it is by far the most liked to open set from Sword and Shield era. Again, from a streamer's perspective, at least, I think that's true. I think it gets open more than Evolving Skies. It's just such a stacked set. You cannot argue against this set. I think, again, population on these really doesn't matter. They're going to continue to keep pushing up again, even as people open up more and they go back down. If you can get any sort of discount on these, I think they're still pretty good pickups. People are master setting Crown Zenith all the time when I go to shows. I pretty much always pick these up on a discount if I can, because the glaring galleries specifically, I mean, especially like the ones on this first page, because there's always a buyer, it feels like. And definitely these top chase cards are still going to probably perform pretty well long term. But obviously they've fallen pretty hard from their highs. Let's see where it got to. Actually, Mewtwo's didn't fall that much. Fell what, 20%? 25%? But I think the Giratina, didn't the Giratina get to like 300 or something? Or am I wrong? Oh, shoot. I thought the Giratina got up to like 300. Or was that the... No, the PSA... Yeah, the PSA 10 got up to like 600. Let's see. What is the peak of this? Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, so it got up to like, what, 215? And then now is at 150. But again, 36% on the year. So you could have gotten this card at $100 a year ago. Now it's 150. So they're setting new lows, but they're nowhere near as low as they were a year ago. And that's pretty self-explanatory from the fact that they're not printing this anymore, but there is still so much product out there of Crown Zenith. Like there's still hundreds of thousands of packs, but they are the most, like when you look at people's stream stats, like that's why I wish I had more friends that were streamers, or like if I ever streamed, which I think it would be too much for me, but if I ever streamed and had access to the data like Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles does, it's really interesting to see the sets that people are opening up most week to week. And it does feel like, or it does seem like Crown Zenith, Prismatic, 151 are still like some of the most open sets. And then the newest sets, Destined or whatever, end up being also up there. But it's also interesting, you'll see ones in between where like certain weeks, like he had Paradox Rift as his most open set, and it was because like some whale came in and like bought out all the Paradox Rift packs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I really wanted to touch on. Again, there's nothing too crazy there that we were going over. Just kind of where I see some of these sets and their relative values. But question I had for you guys is, and I'll put it in the chat, and you can just leave a comment if you're still in here. What is your best performing sealed product right now? So for the 7 of you in here, if you're paying attention, leave a comment. Or it could be your best performing Pokemon product in general. It could be singles, sealed, particular set, something that you think was undervalued that you made a play on and ended up being right. I'm just curious what everyone else thinks. And we'll round out the stream after that. Fusion Strike or 151, yeah, those are both good picks. Fusion Strike literally doubled in the last year, and same with 151. I think 151 ETBs just keep going up because they're not reprinting the ETBs. They're just reprinting the Blooming Waters and some of the bundles. So it's performed really well. Okay, Connor. Got some boxes from MetaZoo. Stop buying sealed. Only singles over here for the personal collection. Yeah. Yeah, I know Nostalgianomics talks about it a lot, but singles will, if you guess the right singles, he compares them to single stocks versus like ETFs. The singles will almost always beat sealed if you pick the right ones, but in general, it feels like sealed, especially booster boxes, you get a much more consistent return over time. And I've noticed the same thing from just the last couple of years of doing this. But with that being said, I do think that it feels like everyone thinks the market has completely like cooled off in a way where like things are going back to what they were. But I'm just not seeing. I mean, all the boxes are still $200+. There's not a box cheaper than $200 right now. As far as booster boxes go, except for SV base, which is literally $199 on TCG Player, so we can pretty much chalk that up as 200. And yeah, Sword and Shield has come down a little bit from that pump it had a couple months ago, but it's still, I mean, all those boxes are $300-$400 pretty much, except for Battle Styles and Vivid and those lower end ones. But for the most part, they're all in that. All the alt art sets besides Battle Styles are in that upper range. Okay. Thank you all for coming out. I will do a better job of preparing next time because I literally was making the thumbnail right before this, and so I didn't really have enough time to think about it and make a catchy thumbnail to get people in here. But I will do a better job next time. It was the first solo stream. I think it went pretty well. My throat is kind of like bothering me because I was talking so much. But yeah, Sun and Moon singles are doing very well, especially tag teams. If you have any tag teams, you are reaping the rewards right now. Again, not really a specific play I'm making, but I am buying. My camera won't focus on this. Sorry, Connor. Certain rainbow rares, not really as an investment, maybe a short term to medium term investment, but I just want to like I kind of want to get back into like a slight not PC, but just like stockpiling some stuff on the side. And if they don't sell, it's fine. And so I'm doing that with some of these rainbow rares from Sun and Moon now, just because they're as expensive as a lot of IRs and SIRs, which to be fair, they're not as popular, but you are starting to see ones, the higher end ones, the alt art rainbows and ones like Lugia, Rayquaza, all the popular Pokemon, they're also starting to go up. So I think there could be some opportunity there. Not telling anyone to buy. And honestly, there's probably, well, I'm sure Japanese tag teams have started to move too, if they in recent weeks. But okay, we'll end it there. Thank you everyone for coming out. Whoever stayed and watched, Ed, Connor, Jason, I know you were in here earlier. Appreciate it, guys. And we'll be back next week for sure. Next Tuesday, I'm going to try to get someone new on or a recurring guest. I don't know yet. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably be at the same time, 6 p.m. PST. And then we'll do a solo stream again on Thursday. Try to get a better topic going, but it's hard. Pokemon, there's not much going on right now. It's just kind of like a lot of people waiting for the new stuff to come out, but we'll see. So yeah, thank you all for coming out. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, and watch the other streams that we've done. They've been pretty good so far. Obviously, it's a lot harder for me to do it solo and keep talking the whole time and be interesting. I'm not that interesting sometimes, but we'll get better at it. We'll build this out and we'll be consistent and we'll keep showing up no matter what. So thank you all. Have a happy 4th of July. Enjoy the fireworks. Be safe. Hug your loved ones. Eat some hamburgers. And have a nice weekend. Have a nice 3-day weekend for most of us that work. So catch y'all next week. Take it easy. And thanks. Bye.